So imagine getting clapped by a guy wearing blue light glasses. Could it be me?
Let's call it a day. I'm 65 miles away. Got about an hour to think of what I'm gonna say. Hello, so here I am. I've been missing you, done what I can to forget you. Didn't know how much I love you. So baby, how much is much? How deep is deep? How much is much?
You can just watch something on a video online. And you're like, oh, that's the simplest thing in the world. You just sit down and shoot. It's tough knowing what to do with your legs.
Always try to give you everything I had.
Everything I
All right, let's take it again.
Okay, so tell me if this sounds familiar. You just bought a brand new firearm and you are dying to go to the range and flex on all your friends. However, you, being an intellectual, bought something in a caliber either too obscure to find in abundance or too expensive to buy a significant amount of rounds. You buy 50 rounds of the cheap stuff, promise to do a big resupply on your next paycheck, and call it a day. Fast forward to your next paycheck, and after budgeting and paying your bills, you have $350 to spend on gear. While refreshing Ammo Seek, you look over at that new gun and think, oh man, an EOTech would totally be a vibe. Fast forward to range day, you now have no money and you have a cool rifle with a really high-speed optic, and maybe only those original 50 rounds for the entire day of training. While your friends are happily running drills, you're looking at the 1.5 magazines you have for the entire day and begin to cry, but hey, at least you got that EOTech. So here's the thing, low ammo range sessions are not as scary as they seem. Most of the drills I run tend to be about 4 to 8 shots at most, unless we're practicing providing cover fire and maneuvering. I think people have this expectation that a low ammo range day is going to limit you to 10 rounds and then you just go home, when in reality, it's so much more productive than that. Having 1,000 rounds to burn does not guarantee a productive range day. In fact, quite the opposite. I think if you told me that I had to shoot 1,000 rounds at a training session, it would be less productive for me than if I just shot my normal average of 200 to 250. Even then, I know that burning 200 rounds in a day is not realistic for some people, so for the sake of this video, let's assume all you have to work with is 50 rounds. 50 rounds and 1 day to train as effectively as possible.
When we go shoot together, it's not like we're just mag dumping ammo. I think we realistically only shoot maybe 150, 200 rounds a piece. And so that's not on the crazy side of things, but ammo can be expensive. And there are a lot of people out there, me also right now, because I'm running super low on 300 Blackout, and I've been shooting a lot of 300 Blackout since I have my Rattler build. And I was just like, man, I would really love to design a course of fire where I only shoot 50 rounds, because that's essentially just 2 boxes of ammo. So that's 50 rounds is affordable. And I just want to see how effective this is, and if I can train efficiently with only firing 50 times.
So I would think for me, generally, when I train by myself, that's about what I'm shooting, is I have time to shoot 50 rounds, maybe 100 on a long day, because most of the time if I'm going to shoot, I'm going to shoot out at the farm, and I'm going to be doing other stuff. I've got other projects to work on, like putting corn out, repairing shooting houses, stuff like that. So if I only had 50 rounds of 5.56, my inclination would be to do what I have done in the past, which is try to really hone in slow shooting at distances.
I rode out the course of fire at my house, and I had a range I was going to go shoot at that would go out to about, actually originally where we were going to go is it goes out to 1,400 yards. So I was going to follow a similar vein of what you did, and I was going to attempt to do a lot of controlled slow distance work with some things mixed in there to make it a little bit more difficult. But then what ended up happening is that range was under construction, and I had to go to a range that was 50 yards. And so I had to modify a lot of it to be like, how can I train to make this more complicated and only shoot 50 rounds, but it's only 50 yards where you can't just kind of dump a mag and hit the target.
Yeah. There's a really good saying that I'll probably hear at least once a year, and I've had to say it a couple times to my guys and girls when they screw something up significantly. And it applies to not just, I mean, training around guns, it applies to everything in life. And it's that you will never rise to the occasion. You will always fall back to your level of training.
Drill number 1 is a quick draw drill. The goal is you shoot 1 round from low ready as fast as possible. You're going to do this for 6 repetitions and a total of 6 rounds. It's worth noting that just about all of these drills in the video today, you can dry fire them, and I would highly advise doing that because it lets you conserve your ammo and still train more than the 50 rounds we have available to us.
An obstacle I ran into is the obvious one of it's only 50 rounds, right? So also only 50 rounds on a 50-yard range. So how the heck do we do anything? So the first drill is 6 rounds, but you start from low ready. It's just quick draw, shooting from low ready, whatever. The names are cute, I needed something. If that's all it is, the first drill, you start from low ready, come up, shoot 1 round as fast as you can, and then you go look at the hit, mark it, you try and do better. You do that 6 times. All of these drills, just about all of them, you can run dry for as long as you want before you do them. I practiced for probably 3 minutes before I ever fired a round of just gun up, fire, and dry fire. But gun up, pull the trigger, gun up, pull the trigger. And then when I finally felt like I had my muscle memory and like where my cheek was meeting the brace of the rattler down, I was like, okay, let's try this for real. Still was not great.
My group for this drill was pretty all over the place. It was the first run of the day, and I only had 1 flyer and 5 on target.
I've run that a lot with pistols recently, and I actually got pretty decent with it because the idea of the pistol is just come up as fast as you can, make a shot as quick as you can on a 25-yard steel plate, and that's pretty tough. Being able to find my red dot in less than a second and hit a 6-inch plate at 25 yards on a pistol is not easy. But I felt like that helped me a lot because that's my biggest area of weakness.
I have bad habits around striker fire pistols and AR platforms that have specifically translated from my background as a deer hunter. Because like a lot of guys, growing up here in the Southeast or anywhere in the country with, rural land, I didn't grow up deer hunting with people who, were Army snipers. My grandpa, my dad, my uncles, they taught me how to shoot. And so there's a lot of these like old school bolt action rifle, scope LPVO habits that have been developed since the age of like 8 to 10. Like using scopes that don't have holds, I'm right eye dominant, closing my left eye when I'm shooting, being really dependent on shooting off of a solid surface like sandbags or something like that. And those specifically have been things that on really slow range days or when I'm training by myself, that's something that I've been working to overcome, is those bad habits. And I don't even know if I'd necessarily say that they're bad habits, but they are habits that don't translate well to shooting what we are shooting.
Drill 2, I'm calling the 2/3 Zambique. I thought that was cute. It is 1 to the chest and 1 to the head, whereas a Mozambique would be 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. This is done to save ammo. You are going to do 2 shots per run. You're going to do it 3 times. So again, you are only spending 6 rounds total on this drill.
So instead of shooting 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, it's 1 chest, 1 head. And so that kind of builds off of that first drill, where the first drill is you come up as fast as you can, take 1 shot, and then back down. Now it's you come up as fast as you can, 1 shot, move your rifle up to the head, 1 shot. So it's kind of building off each other. The Mozambique, I feel like the 2 to the chest is actually helpful because you get to deal with recoil management, where if it's 1 to the chest, 1 to the head, it obviously still recoils, but you are transitioning your point of impact So it's not like you're trying to hold steady. You just get to shoot and then move up to the top. But we had to save ammo because 50 rounds.
Drill number 3, we have the Botkins drill, or the 1R1 as it is known outside of this hyper-autistic circle of gun tube. So you have 1 round in the chamber, 9 in an extra mag for 10 rounds total. You're going to run this 5 times. You fire. When the mag goes empty, you reload, drop the bolt, fire again. This is done for speed, and you are going to look super tactical.
But that one, the 1R1 is phenomenal because you can dry run it almost with the same effectiveness as you would live fire. The only thing is you don't get the bolt that locks back. So I have probably a 5-minute long clip of just dry running the 1R1s because you can do it very effectively with no ammo at all. So for the 1R1s, I think I programmed, you use 10 rounds. So that means you get to run it. You run it live fire 5 times because you use 2 rounds every time you go. How do you feel about 1R1s, Taylor?
Dude, I love them. I love them. If I have to bring it back to like, why am I training period? It's for, God forbid the occasion I have to actually put my CCW to work. But 1R1s though, I mean, it adds a level of complication that when you're in the middle of actually putting in work and you're hyper focused on a target, it seems so dumb that such a little thing like having to take your mag out and put a new one in and go again, like it will screw you up. No, 1R1s are awesome.
It's an extremely humbling drill. As Harrison, I sent Harrison some footage of me doing it in the gym, in our home gym the other day. It is so humbling. But in my mind, the 1R1 should not be so difficult. And then you do it and you're like, God, I suck. This is embarrassing. I can't believe I just messed that up. You drop a mag, or like I sent Harrison a clip, and one of them, I went to reload and I went, where the hell are my mags? Because I had done 1R1s repeatedly until I had no more AR mags. I look down at the ground. I go, where the fuck are my mags? And I like freeze for a second and then remember, oh shit, I should pull my pistol. Oh shit, I don't have any mags.
So drill number 4 was my absolute favorite of the day. It's pump and dump. I, again, just thought that was kind of a cute name. You do 12 to 15 push-ups, and then you go straight into a sprint. Grab your rifle at the end of the sprint and make a headshot or a shot at distance. Once you do that, immediately reset, do not rest. You fire 1 time, and we are going to run this drill 6 times. This is humbling, and it was the most fun thing of the day by far.
The idea is one very, very high stress shot with your heart rate up and you are fatigued. So what we would do at the farm is we would sprint, jump in the back of a truck with a rifle and try to take like a 200-yard shot, and you have to hit it on first impact. I had 50 yards. So what I ended up doing is just doing like 15 push-ups and then sprinting. And then once I got to the rifle, I would pick it up and go for a headshot. The headshot at 50 yards is small enough where you really, really have to control your breathing. If you're fatigued from doing push-ups, doing a sprint, I'm kind of shocked in the footage. It would take me a good few seconds to get steady. Like watching the footage back, I was shocked because in the moment you think you're just picking it up, zeroing in, taking the shot, when in real life I was pretty gassed because also a big part of this drill, you don't get any rest. So as soon as you do it once, you just reset, go back to push-ups and a sprint, and then do it again. And by the end of it, there was about a 4-second delay from when I was aiming to when I took the shot. And that kind of stuff I love because all you need is 1 round, and it's kind of like a workout. But I mean, how often when we train are we actually fatigued? Like we're not, you know?
Yeah, very rarely. That's also I like that you went with the headshot because I mean you're sort of dual training on target acquisition and also the fact that you're I guess you could say acclimating to a uncontrollable body function, which is, moving while heavy breathing.
If I had had 200 yards to work with, it would have just been a steel plate. And if I hear the ding, that's a pass. But with only 50 yards, it's all about, because everything with this, with only 50 rounds to shoot, it's all about how can you add complexity and fatigue yourself and make it more difficult so that those 50 rounds matter more. I got tired, and I'd done chest day the night before, so those push-ups were actually kind of humbling.
No, that's good. Especially, I mean, when you add that fatigue factor, it's like Knight said, you're acclimating to something that you have no control over. And like, it's not something that you can necessarily make just go away. No matter how fit you get, if you reach whatever your level of fatigue is, it's going to affect you negatively as far as your accuracy and speed goes for the 99% of us. So as far as round conservation and as far as getting bang for your buck, no pun intended, I mean, that is probably one of the best drills, if not the best drill I think you could end a limited 50 round range day on, because it's going to combine all of your skills together and add an even more complication and increase difficulty. So yeah, you're still going to have to deal with target acquisition and weapons handling, but you're also going to have to just make it literally harder for you too.
Yeah, and I would say it is tough and near impossible to simulate an adrenaline dump, especially if you're used to shooting. Maybe like your first couple times around firearms, you can get a little bit of a rush, but if you go to the range often, it feels normal. And so you can't really simulate that adrenaline response. So just fatiguing yourself and getting yourself out of breath, I found was the next best thing.
Drill number 5 is called Basecamp. This is going to be lateral movement from the target. You are going to shoot and move, work on stability and rolling your feet. You run this 2 times, shoot 5 shots each run for a total of 10 shots.
I ran a drill that I called Basecamp, just because anyone who's ever been in marching band, which for Knight and I, that's been over a decade ago, but they teach you to roll your feet when you're walking.
Don't point the finger at me. I was never marching.
That's fair. You were down there in the percussion, not having to move around. Huge thing is they teach you when you're holding your instrument, you roll your feet so that you can be smoother and that you can breathe and you can just be better moving through space. And everybody is trash, in our group at least, at shooting while walking. We rarely do it, ever. And so for the Basecamp drill, it was 10 rounds. You run it twice. Each time you run, you get 5 shots, but you walk laterally to a target, and you get 5 rounds on that target as you are moving. We are now at a total round count of 38, which means we've got 12 rounds left.
Mag dump.
And yeah, mag dump. This is my favorite. My favorite was definitely the physical one. But from a shooting standpoint, this one was just the most fun for me. But we do this at the range all the time. It's just 2 and 1. So I had 2 targets next to each other, spaced apart probably by 12 feet, 2 shots on one, transition as fast as I can, 1 shot on the other. And so with 12 rounds left, I was able to run that 4 times because you get 3 shots per go. And that one was just fun. I love a good target transition. And so at the end of that, we're at 50 rounds, and I liked it. I think it took me about 2 hours. I think 2.5. Granted, I had to film, so I was having to set up the camera, check focus, do all that. I think if I wasn't doing anything on camera, I could have done it all in about an hour and a half. But for a 50 round only range day, it was pretty
All right,
good.
so this is target A, which got the double tap. Luckily, my 4th group was a little bit better, but I am drifting a little bit. So I am going to need to work on my recoil management, but not bad. Better than I have done in the past, so that is improvement for me. All right, here we've got target B. Everything's pretty dead center. We have some variance in the height, but I'm not terribly mad about that. Those are all good hits in my book.
And I don't want the point of this video to be, hey, if you have low ammo, this is the only routine that works for you. I want the point to be, hey, if you can only shoot 50 rounds today, whether it's budget reasons, whether it's you're just really low on ammo and you want to conserve, you can just sit down and design a course of fire to where you can effectively train. Obviously, the more ammo you have to be able to throw down range, the better. But I think my big takeaway from this whole experiment was that if you just sit down and plan what you're going to do, the round count doesn't matter as much as if you just show up and start throwing rounds down range.
The time factor is also a huge part of that. Like you said in the last video, is realistically, if most of us are only, boots on the ground at the range, once a month, if you've got, a job, kids, wife, husband, whoever at home that you got to take care of, you got to cut the lawn, yada, 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 you might only have an hour. And 50, it may not be about the fact that you only have, 50 rounds. It may be that you only have time for 50 rounds.
That's 50 effective rounds, not just I'm going to load up 2 30-round mags and just go at it. But I just think it all comes back to plan what you're going to do before you go, and you will be able to train so much better. I think that kind of does it for this one. I guess I'll be seeing you guys in about a week and a half. Hopefully we're going to shoot some deer, shoot a bunch of videos. I want to do a video night called Why Tactical Shooters Should Get Into Hunting, and I think that one's going to be really fun. Yeah. So that'll be a good one. Hopefully, Taylor, are you going to come hunt with us?
Oh, yeah.
You going to fall asleep in a stand again?
Oh, yeah. You put me by myself, I did, for 3 hours. Yeah.
Well, if we're together, we're not going to see a dang thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But, all right, boys, good talking.
Yeah.
All right, see you, fellas.
See y'all.
It's me.